At 5:16 local time, somewhere in the Caribbean Sea, the surface radar caught something before anyone on the bridge said a word. A small contact appeared on the screen, low profile, moving slowly but not drifting. No AIS signal, no visible flag, no clear identity, just a steel shape moving through open water where it had no obvious reason to be. On the bridge, nobody panicked, nobody raised their voice. The watch officer simply leaned closer to the display. Range closing, course steady, behavior unusual. Condition 3 was set quietly. Key stations were manned. No alarms, no drama. Just a calm shift from routine patrol to controlled attention. From a distance, the vessel looked ordinary, almost too ordinary. The shape suggested a fishing boat. The paint was faded by the sun. The deck looked cluttered just enough to support the story. But the U.S. Navy does not judge by appearance. It studies patterns. And this vessel did not match any normal fishing pattern. Electro-optical sensors took over. The camera tightened its view. The hull sat low in the water. The stern was riding deeper than it should have been. That meant weight. A lot of weight. The bridge ordered a hail. No response. A second hail followed on a different frequency. Still nothing. That silence mattered. Real fishing crews answer radios. Cargo crews answer radios. Anyone who wants to look legitimate usually answers. Out here, silence is not just silence. It is a decision. The contact continued on the same course, pretending nothing was wrong. But at that distance, the illusion was already falling apart. The wake looked uneven. The engine rhythm changed under strain. Whoever was running that boat was trying to look calm while pushing a heavy load through open water. The distance kept shrinking. On the destroyer's deck, sailors moved with purpose. Helmets on, vests secured. A rigid hull inflatable boat was prepared without ceremony. Equipment stayed controlled. Hands stayed disciplined. Every movement was measured. The ocean looked calm, blue, and almost peaceful. Then, without warning, the small vessel changed course. Not a gentle correction, a sharp turn to port. Then the speed increased. That was the moment it stopped being a questionable contact and became something else. On the bridge, the course line updated. The change was clear. This was not drifting. This was not confusion. The contact was trying to open distance. The RHIB was lowered. Engines came alive. The small boat surged forward, cutting hard across the water. The suspect vessel tried to run, but it could not truly break free. The added speed only made the weight problem worse. The stern dug deeper. Spray flew high and wide. It was overloaded. And now the crew knew they had been seen. Through the optical feed, 3 figures became visible on deck. No fishing gear in use, no nets, no lines, just men watching the horizon, then turning back toward the warship closing behind them. The destroyer did not chase recklessly. It did not need to. It held position, controlled the space, and let the faster RHIB do the work. The suspect vessel began to zigzag, making quick and messy turns. That was a mistake. Every turn burned speed. Every correction cost distance. The RHIB cut inside the movements and closed the gap with each maneuver. Another command went out. Stop your vessel. Engines to idle. The answer did not come through the radio. It came through action. A dark bundle was thrown over the side, then another. The packages hit the water hard, skipped once, and slipped just below the surface. The crew was trying to lighten the load and gain speed, but it was already too late. Each package left a mark on the water. Each one confirmed why the vessel had tried to flee. On the bridge, the time and coordinates were logged. The video feed captured everything. The RHIB closed to within meters. Its bow wave rocked the smaller boat. One sailor made his presence unmistakable, calm and controlled, without escalating the moment. The suspect boat's engine strained. The hull shuddered. The throttle dropped. Hands appeared on the rail. Slowly, reluctantly, the vessel coasted to a stop. Out there, nobody celebrated. Nobody shouted. There was only the sound of engines idling and water tapping against steel. The chase was over. But what remained inside that hold had not even been seen yet. And that was when the true weight of the interception began to surface. The small vessel sat motionless in the water, bow drifting, stern heavy and low. But stopping did not mean the situation was finished. On the RHIB, the coxswain kept the engines ready. Distance was maintained. No one relaxed. Boats like this can move again the moment someone thinks there is an opening. The destroyer held position behind them, large and quiet, dominating the horizon without pressing too close. Presence without pressure, control without noise. From above, the camera feed stayed locked on the deck. Every movement was magnified. 3 men, no uniforms, no identifying marks. Their eyes kept moving from the warship to the water where the packages had gone in. The wake patterns told the story better than any confession could. Even after dumping cargo, the hull still rode low. That boat had never been built to carry what it was carrying. The order came calmly. Prepare to be boarded. No countdown, no theatrics, just a clear instruction. The RHIB edged closer, sliding alongside the suspect vessel's port side. Sailors read the boat like a map. Handholds, lines, possible hazards, blind spots. One man on deck gripped the rail too tightly. Another avoided eye contact completely. The third kept glancing toward the engine housing, as if still calculating. A sudden burst of throttle would have been a bad idea. Everyone there knew it. The RHIB made contact, soft and controlled. Rubber against steel, engines off. Hands where they can be seen. This time the crew complied. The engine died with a hollow cough, and the ocean took back the silence. The boarding team moved quickly but not recklessly. One sailor stepped across, boots finding grip on the slick deck. Another followed. Their posture stayed ready but restrained. Eyes scanned everything at once. Faces, hands, hatches, body language, every small signal that could matter. Nobody resisted. That said plenty. Inside the cargo space, the air felt heavy and sharp. Not fuel, not fish. Something processed. Something that did not belong on a legitimate fishing vessel. The hatch came open. Inside, rectangular bundles filled the hold from wall to wall, wrapped tight in layers of plastic, burlap, and tape. Each package looked uniform, professional, organized. This was not a random local run. This was a coordinated operation. One bundle was opened just enough to confirm what the team already suspected. Pressed blocks were packed inside, marked with symbols meant for people who understood the system. The camera recorded everything. The counting began. Rough estimates first, then careful documentation. The numbers rose quickly. This was not a few packages. This was not a small trial shipment. This was a major load intended to move fast, reach land, and disappear into a wider network. The estimated value climbed past $200 million, then higher. The final figure settled at around $298 million. $298 million. That kind of value does not move without planning. It does not travel without coordination, and it is not abandoned easily, which made the decision to run look even worse in hindsight. Back on deck, the crew said nothing. They did not need to. Their shoulders dropped as reality set in. Whatever explanation they might have planned ended the moment the first bundle went overboard. Their hands were secured. Searches were conducted. No prohibited equipment was found. The cargo itself was enough. On the destroyer's bridge, the seizure was logged with precision, time, position, condition of the vessel, condition of the crew, condition of the cargo. Everything clean, everything documented. The ocean around the stopped boat was calm again, but it still carried traces of what had happened. Bits of plastic drifted near the surface where the packages had gone under. A visible line of evidence stretched behind the route they thought would keep them invisible. The RHIB backed off slightly, keeping a watchful circle. This phase was no longer about speed. It was about control, making sure nothing changed while the process unfolded. From the outside, it looked simple. A small boat stopped, 3 men held, cargo secured. But at sea, nothing about this was small. A shipment like this does not simply vanish. Somewhere, someone was already waiting for it. Someone was counting on it. Someone was expecting a delivery that would never arrive, and right now, they had no idea the answer was sitting dead in the water under the watchful eyes of a U.S. Navy destroyer. The chase was finished. The consequences were just beginning. The boarding team did not rush. They did not need to. The suspect vessel was secure. Engines cold, crew compliant. At sea, that is exactly when mistakes often happen. When tension drops too quickly, focus can slip. So the team moved with deliberate precision. Every action by the book, every step recorded. Boots moved across the deck one by one. Weight tested, balance checked. The smell was stronger here. Not salt, not fuel, not fish. Something artificial, something sharp. The 3 men were separated immediately, hands secured, each placed where they could be seen at all times. No shouting, no threats, just clear, direct commands. Sit, stay still. They complied without argument, but that compliance did not feel like relief. It felt like resignation. One sailor checked identification. Another scanned the deck for hidden spaces. A third moved toward the hatch leading below. The cargo space was where the truth lived, and everyone on board knew it. The hatch was sealed with extra fasteners. Not rusted, not improvised, reinforced. That was not how a normal fishing boat was built. The seal was cut. The hatch opened. Inside, the hold was packed tight. No wasted space, no loose gear, just row after row of wrapped bundles stacked with the efficiency of a warehouse. Each package matched the next in size and shape. Each was wrapped in layers designed to protect it from water and detection. Built for transport, built for speed. One bundle was lifted, heavy, dense. Another was moved aside, revealing more beneath it. There was no false bottom, no hidden compartment. They did not need one. The entire boat was the compartment. A small cut was made in the wrapping. Inside were tightly pressed blocks, dry and compact, marked with symbols meant for the people who handled this cargo down the line. To the ocean, the markings meant nothing. On land, they meant ownership. The camera stayed close. Every movement was documented. Evidence photos, video, timestamps, coordinates. This was not a rushed seizure. This was a case being built in real time. The count began again, slowly now, one package at a time. Weight estimates were refined. The numbers climbed steadily, then sharply. By the time the hold was fully documented, the scale was impossible to ignore. This was not a courier run. This was not a test load. This was a primary shipment. The final estimated value landed just under $300 million. A conservative estimate, $298 million. That number changed the atmosphere instantly. Not emotionally, operationally. A shipment this large does not move without layers of coordination. Routes have to be planned. Timing has to be synchronized. Buyers wait. Distributors prepare. People expect the system to work. This cargo was expected, and now it was going nowhere. Back on deck, the crew was searched more thoroughly. Pockets emptied, shoes checked, no active phones left behind, everything logged. One man stared straight ahead, jaw tight. Another kept looking toward the water, as if calculating how much had been lost when the first bundles were dumped. The third did not look up at all. They did not ask questions. They did not argue. They already understood the math. The boarding team finished its sweep. No surprises, no sudden turns, no last-minute gamble. The vessel was officially treated as an evidence scene. Chain of custody began immediately. Every bundle was tagged, every image archived, every action tied to a name, a time, and a place. This is the part that rarely makes headlines, but this is the part that makes cases survive later. The destroyer's bridge received the update with calm acknowledgement. No congratulations, no celebration, just confirmation. The ocean around the boat was quiet again. The earlier wake had flattened. The only movement came from the gentle rocking of two vessels now linked by circumstance. From a distance, it looked like very little was happening. In reality, an entire operation had just collapsed. Far from this patch of water, people were likely checking clocks, making calls, and wondering why a boat that was never supposed to be noticed had suddenly gone silent. They did not know it yet. Their shipment was not delayed, it was finished. Out here, numbers usually do not impress anyone. Tonnage, speed, range, distance, they are all just tools. But $298 million is different. That number is not just money, it is momentum. A shipment that size is designed to feed an entire chain. Boats, drivers, storage locations, security, payments, schedules, and people who expect their part. Every delay costs. Every failure creates pressure. That is why this interception mattered long after the boat stopped moving. Back on the destroyer, the mission shifted into another phase. Evidence handling replaced pursuit. Discipline replaced speed. This was where mistakes could damage a case months later. Bundles were transferred methodically, each one photographed, weighed, tagged, and secured. The process was slow by design. Rushed evidence creates problems. Clean evidence holds. The crew of the suspect vessel watched from their own deck as the cargo was laid out under the sun. They did not react. They did not need to. They knew what this meant elsewhere. This shipment was not disposable. It was not supposed to fail. It was not supposed to be seen. Somewhere along the route, schedules were already breaking. A location that expected cargo that night would stay empty. A distributor waiting for delivery would miss a commitment. A downstream crew would ask questions with no easy answers. That is how pressure spreads. Quietly, unevenly, relentlessly. For the sailors handling the evidence, none of that changed the work. Their focus stayed narrow. Count, log, secure, repeat. This was not about drama. It was about removing dangerous cargo from circulation and doing it in a way that could withstand scrutiny later. The detained crew was processed next. Basic medical checks. No injuries, no resistance. Their information was documented and relayed. They remained quiet, eyes down, posture stiff. They had been paid to move cargo, not explain it. The vessel itself was examined more closely. Registration details did not match. The paperwork did not survive even a basic review. The hull showed signs of modification, reinforced beams, altered compartments, changes made to carry extra weight without drawing attention. This boat had not simply been borrowed, it had been prepared for this job. As the hours passed, the scene lost its urgency, but not its importance. The ocean stayed calm. The horizon did not change. From a distance, it could have looked like routine maritime traffic, but the consequences were already spreading. A seizure like this does more than remove one shipment. It forces networks to adjust. Routes change. Trusted paths are abandoned. New boats are rushed into use, crews take bigger risks to make up for the loss, and bigger risks are easier to spot. That is the part that does not always make the news. One intercepted vessel becomes a reference point. Patterns shift, analysts take notes, future contacts get flagged faster, routes that once looked invisible begin to stand out on screens, and it all started with one boat that believed it could pass unnoticed. On the destroyer, the crew rotated through watches as usual. Meals were served, logs were updated, the rhythm of life on board continued. That was intentional. Professionalism means treating extraordinary moments like routine work, because the moment emotion takes over, judgment can slip. By the time the sun began to lower, the suspect vessel was no longer just an unknown contact. It was a documented case. The three men were no longer anonymous figures on a distant deck. They were detainees awaiting transfer. The cargo was no longer a rumor moving through hidden channels. It was evidence sealed and controlled, and the sea, vast and indifferent, had already erased most visible signs of the chase that led there. But the ripple effect would not disappear so quickly. For the sailors on deck, this was one operation among many. For the people who lost that shipment, it was a financial shockwave that would not stop moving anytime soon. Out here, stopping a boat is not about spectacle. It is about disruption. And $298 million is the kind of disruption that travels far beyond the horizon. By the time the transfer was complete, the sea had gone back to looking harmless. Flat water, long horizon. Nothing to suggest that hours earlier, a shipment valued near $300 million had tried and failed to vanish in this exact place. That is the illusion the ocean always offers. Distance, space, too much water for anyone to be watching closely. That illusion is why crews keep trying. They believe scale protects them. They believe that once they are far enough from shore, consequences become blurry. They believe speed and anonymity can outrun discipline. They believe the ocean is too big to control. They are wrong. Out here, every mistake becomes larger. Every overloaded hull leaves a signature. Every course change tells a story. Every unanswered radio call becomes a decision that gets logged. The suspect vessel did not fail because of bad luck. It failed because it made the same assumption many crews have made before. It assumed the ocean was empty. On the destroyer, the watch changed again. The ship resumed patrol. No fanfare, no victory lap. Just another course line plotted across open water. From the outside, it looked like nothing had changed, but beneath the surface, everything had. Routes that once felt safe were now compromised. Timing windows were broken. Whoever planned the run now had to explain why nearly $300 million had disappeared without a trace. And explanations in that world are expensive. This is the part that rarely gets attention. Not the pursuit, not the boarding, but the aftermath that stretches far beyond the deck of a stopped vessel. Every major network depends on predictability. Boats arrive when they are supposed to. Payments move on schedule. Silence usually means success. Interdiction breaks that rhythm. When one shipment disappears, uncertainty spreads. And when uncertainty spreads, mistakes follow. That is what maritime forces look for. Stopping one boat is never only about one boat. It is about forcing the next crew to make a riskier decision, to run faster, to load heavier, to move through weather they should avoid, to cut corners that make them visible. The ocean does not forgive shortcuts. Neither does surveillance. The men were transferred without incident. They did not struggle. They did not speak. By the time they left the deck, they understood that this chapter was closed. What they might never fully see is how far the consequences would spread. Somewhere, another crew may already be preparing a vessel, unaware that their route has just become too dangerous to trust. Somewhere else, a handler may be watching a clock, waiting for a delivery that will never come. And out on the open water, the destroyer continues its patrol, scanning, listening, watching. No single interception ends the problem at sea, but every interception tightens the net. That is the lesson the ocean teaches again and again. You do not outrun presence, you do not hide from patterns, and you do not beat discipline with desperation. The suspect vessel ran because it thought distance was on its side. It was not. At sea, speed does not save you. Silence does not protect you. And the moment you choose to flee, you give away the one thing you needed most. Control. The ocean is vast. The watch is patient. And sooner or later, every run ends the same way. Dead in the water.